in the way, we're shutting down a place, it's a mad thing. That girl that used to hate is all up in my face, it's getting kind of bait, it's a bad thing. It's not all about the peas, but if you got some for me, I'll easily.
That thing's the new track by J Unity Blood. PBT creators, keep it on the low.
Creators.
Available on Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud right now. Go check that out. You know what I'm saying?
Nothing. It's hello, Corinne.
What's
I never
up?
say hello to Corinne. Hello, Corinne.
Yo, what's up? See, we need to say hello to Corinne. We do need to say hello to Corinne. Shout out
Corinne
Corinne.
is the bestest.
Corinne is amazing. But we understand why Corinne is amazing. But Corinne is amazing. We all think Corinne is amazing. Yo, hashtag mad thing, Corinne. Yo, much love. Yeah, we all think Corinne is amazing. Corinne is amazing.
She's amazing.
Start off there. We need to start off there. We don't do enough shouting out to Corinne, so what's up?
It's true. I think we should do that. Like, Corinne every time, you know? Corinne all the way.
Corinne on like a weekly basis. This should just be like a segment, a regular feature of what we do at every seminar is do a Corinne shout out. I feel like that makes sense though. I ain't gonna do for that. I don't really have a vision.
I'm tired of doing that. We'll just drop it live, you know, for like 5 minutes every day, just to be like,
Nah, yeah, I could do that. We could do that like just once a week.
It'd be like a scream moment, like,
It could be our intro segment. Like that could be a thing we do like once a week and be like we just do a live, quick live from wherever the hell we happen to be in the world at that time and be like, Corinne, and then like, you know, cut. That's just our thing. Like that's what we do from now on. Yo, anyway, listen. Let me just welcome us. Let me welcome everybody that ain't watching right now, but everybody who's watching us. Hey, you know what we are. Dr. E's Open Seminar Series. Y'all know how it is. Welcome to episode, seminar number what?
17.
Seminar number 17. We are on
I feel like we need a counter, you know? We're going to lose track of the numbers soon.
Fam, I'm only into 17 and I still don't know where the hell we are. Like, you can imagine, we're just starting up. We're on 17. I have no idea what's going on. I don't know where we are.
I don't know. I'm really looking forward to this one, I have to say.
So am I. But listen, it's Dr. E's Open Seminar Series. I am your man's. I am him. I am Dr. E. Over here every week, as per usual, home girl, Missy. What's up, Home Slice? How you doing?
I'm all right.
We don't get into how you're doing every week. How you doing, Home Slice? How's life? What's your life like?
You know, Mondays being the highlight of my week, I come, I get a bit of learning, you know, and then it's nice, I then spend the rest of the week ruminating on the things you said.
You don't ruminate. Don't say you ruminated. Nobody ruminates. I don't want to.
People should ruminate more often.
I don't know that people should ruminate, fam. It sounds like a weird, cousin to fumigating things. You know what I mean? You just. Nah, I'm just ruminating.
I fumigate on the things you said.
Something you say, to kind of the smart word for you walk through a room and somebody just goes, "Was that you?" Nah, I'm just ruminating.
I smell a ruminating. A rumination has been emanated.
Of a ruminating. But hey, listen, don't take us off track before we even get started, is it? Dr. E's Open Seminar Series. I am him, Dr. E. This is your in-house regular IG TV, IG Live, YouTube, SoundCloud, what have you, your own personal PhD here at your service, providing you that PhD level expertise, analysis, and discussion without the traditional barriers of higher education. You know how we do. You know what we do.
Deliveries. Killer.
Like I practiced this, yes. Almost like I'd spent 4 or 5 hours rehearsing before we did this. I know, it's crazy, but let's let it happen. But in any case, you know what we do. We chop it up every single week, providing that level of, that PhD level of expertise that you usually have to pay through the nose for. But we do it here on IGTV, on YouTube. And the whole idea is it's a seminar, right? So we're trying to get everybody involved. If anybody has any opinions, anybody want anything to say, anybody has any arguments, anybody hears something they disagree with, by all means, shout out, tell me you all think I'm crazy. I'm going to tell you wrong. But
I mean, I do. I always do. And then you prove me wrong every week, so...
Kind of wild. I kind of feel like I spent the time getting the PhD for a reason, you know?
Fair.
Maybe I'm crazy, I don't really understand how things work, but yeah. I'm
there you go.
Person, listen. So, let me just, I know we have story time every week, right? And I don't want to start off, I kind of do want to start off on story time. But I feel like it's a nice way, no, check it out. No, but I feel like it's a nice way for us to kind of get into what it is that we're doing every week, what it is that's happening every week, and why we're here, right? What it is that inspired, at least in part, our Open Seminar Series, right? Me, Homegirl over here.
Yeah.
Saying that. But in any case, the point is, So there's this story, this old story from ancient Greek philosophy. I'm not making this up. I swear to God, you can look this up. It's not. I didn't tell nobody about this beforehand. It's just coming to me now, and I feel like we need to kind of before we get into anything else. But before, listen. To be honest with you, I'm just hold on. Let me just check a couple of things.
Yes, great lineup. Don't cut the story.
The point is, so story goes. There's my man's walking down the street one day, like all good stories go. Starts off my man's walking down the street one day. My man's had a Greek name, it's mad long and complicated, so we're just gonna call him Muhammad. So Muhammad was walking down the road one day, and as Muhammad was walking down the road, Muhammad is muttering to himself.
Right.
Muhammad's friend Ali is across the street. He sees him walking down the street, muttering to himself. What the? It's really intense in his muttering. He's really seriously concentrating. He's deeply focused on his muttering. He's like, yo, what is it? Mutter. What is he doing? So Ali goes over to Muhammad. Muhammad, what the hell are you doing, bro? What are you talking about? Why are you to yourself? Muhammad says, hey, I'm reciting the words of my teacher. I'm trying to make sure I don't forget anything. My master. Reciting the words of my master in order that I don't forget anything. So Ali says to him, well, that's really interesting. What is your master teaching you? So they start going through this conversation, have this whole discussion about what he's been reciting, the ins and outs of the discussion. And in the course of that long walk and that long conversation, Ali discovers a few things about Muhammad. One, Ali discovers that Muhammad has been in training with his master for a few years now. This is not new. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Two, that he hasn't yet arrived at like an advanced stage. He has many years left to go in his training. 3, we discover that Muhammad is desperately broke. My man's almost bankrupt. And 4, we discover that these lessons, these sessions that Muhammad is taking with his master are very expensive. So, at the end of a long walk and a long discussion where we discover so many things, Ali eventually turns to Muhammad and says, listen, that's all interesting, but I still don't understand. What's my man teaching you? Muhammad turns around and looks at Ali, he's teaching me how better to take care of myself.
What the fuck? What the fuck was that?
Now, shout out Michelle. Hashtag shout out Michelle.
Michel Foucault.
No, Michel Foucault tells this story. He used to tell this story at the outset of some of his seminars, his lectures. And he would conclude by saying, now, I'm not accusing anybody here of being such a master and convincing Muhammads here and there of their skills and taking money from them. I'm not accusing anybody here of that. But he says, nevertheless, I'm sure some of you know a guy or two who has his own, hey, what's up, homie? Who has his own Muhammad, who he stores and he teaches this way and he charges through the nose and what have you. I'm sure you know a guy or something like that. Because in antiquity, we used to call those people philosophers. Today, I don't, but they exist. Now, I say that story to say, long story short, there's a bunch of people on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on what have you, right? On whatever DSP or platform is available for people, professing to have the solutions, the answers, the clues, the vision, the understanding, the what have you, that will solve all of your problems, that resolve all of your issues and bring enlightenment to you like that. If only you would pay them $9.99 every 15 days or something. I don't know. You know how it is. Now,
Coaching.
I'm actually a PhD. Like, I actually did the thing.
In philosophy. Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a book and stuff. The point is, you'll see, look me up. The point is, the reason that this was an issue of concern, because there's always been charlatans, that's not new. There's always been snake oil salesmen, that's not new. That's always been the case. But the reason this was particularly of concern today is because it coincided with with the coronavirus, and it coincided with Brexit and Trump and what have you. Under circumstances like that, as people are watching the state collapse around them, surely falling apart around them, people start grasping for answers. And desperation does introduce, like Hegel used to say, as Zizek used to say, and Hegel used to say, that desperation does introduce philosophy. It does. People get desperate thinking philosophically. You're desperate. Yeah. So it's a great time for people like me. It's wonderful. For philosophers, that is. The issue is, it's also a great time for charlatans. And it's a terrible time for people, generally speaking, who are neither of these two categories because they're desperate and they'll reach for whatever they find. And I, for one, felt like, nah, we could do something about that. We can put out for real opinions by for real experts, delivered by experts, but just described without the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? And yes, like we said before, that's an academic term, so I'm giving myself a pass on that sweat. That'll check me out.
I'm not going to repeat the show of last week where I just like
no, we're
went
good.
off on one. I swear.
No, we're not gonna. That's not gonna happen. We have to edit in post. But the point is, this week on that issue, most of these charlatans are selling you the idea, in principle, or at least they're capitalizing. I should say they're capitalizing on the idea that you and you alone are responsible for the change necessary in your society and in your world and in your environment. You see how we get there?
Nicely done!
Seeing the segues? Are you seeing the segues? See, this is just for me and Homegirl. No one else can see these moves. Me and Homegirl got pre-production and post-production. We do a lot of talking. Nah, you see the segues?
I was sat here going, this is interesting, but where the hell's it going? And then pow!
The segues, madam. It's amazing.
Okay. So, does that bring us to your poll? Because I'm dying to talk about it.
Oh.
I don't know, I voted on something.
Oh, pray tell.
There was this poll, by this group called the Build On Tutors. You must have heard of them.
I know you're doing that.
Yeah, they do these seminars every week. It's fascinating stuff. You should come on to and just listen.
I mean, I'm not so interested in other people telling me what to think, but cool. All right, I feel like that's enough cheddar for this week. Like, that's about as much.
Okay. No more cheddar.
That's
But anyway, the poll. I really like the question. You said, do you feel you are responsible for change? Is change your responsibility?
Change your responsibility. The question was,
and I answered, hell yeah. No, and now you're telling me it's all fake.
No, I'm not. I mean, yes, you did. Yes, you answered yes, and so did everybody. I think it's noteworthy that so did everybody. Like, everybody said yes. Like, without.
I feel like that's a win.
I mean, yeah, it kind of is. Yeah, it's a unanimous decision like that is kind of a win. Like, I can't say that's a bad thing. And it's a good thing that everybody feels like they're responsible, right? There's a quote about this. I didn't mention it previously, but there is a quote about this. There's a philosopher who I'm not that big of a fan of personally, but I'll tell you. His name is Galen Strawson. Like, Galen Strawson famously as far as I'm concerned, because it pissed me off for like about 4 years, but famously in my life. So under a chapter of my life where I just ran around being angry at a whole bunch of philosophical old white men that nobody. It was famous in my life. Nevertheless, listen, don't laugh at my life, okay? Only me. I swear to God, only I am running around here getting angry at old white men philosophers. Like, I don't know what's wrong, but in my life,
somebody has to. I'm glad you do.
No, but you'll understand now. So he said, I'm quoting him, he said, but in many human beings, the experience of choice gives rise to a conviction of absolute responsibility that's untouched by philosophical arguments, right?
Oh.
Just see the concept. So what he's basically saying is the philosophical concept of philosophical arguments would tend to suggest the contrary, that you're not actually responsible for as much as you are responsible for. But this experience of choice gives rise to the sense of absolute, or the conviction, he says, of absolute responsibility, right? It's just the experience of choice gives rise to the conviction. What bugs me about his sentence and what annoyed me about it for 4 years and what behind the poll question for this week is that not only is he wrong, but he doesn't quite understand where and how he's wrong.
Okay.
One, when he says, but in many human beings, what perspective is he talking from? Is he not one? What do you
Maybe
mean?
he's like Nagel. He's like, a bat.
No, but in that case, he means in many means. In many
Yeah,
versions of
that's true. That's true.
you fall under the category of human being. So you're being really disingenuous when you pretend it's a separate category from yourself. I can read academically too, bro. I can say words like disingenuous. I'm not an idiot. No, but in many human beings, whatever that means, the experience of choice gives rise to a conviction of absolute responsibility that's untouched by philosophical argument. So the implication again here is not only is he not a human being, because that's a separate category of person, but that as a philosopher, which is presumably what he thinks he is, philosophical arguments just don't touch you petty little peon humans. Do you know what I'm saying? All my profound philosophical arguments come nowhere near your petty little peon life where you have this weird conviction of responsibility, even though I've tried to prove to you a million times it doesn't exist. But you know, petty little small-minded peon and you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Nevertheless, what bugs me about the statement even further still is insofar as we can give him the credit of including him in the category of human being, as reluctant as I may be to do so, because he wasn't. That's not me. He just pretended he wasn't for a whole sentence. I don't know. What I'm saying is, even if we include him in the category of human being, it would have to therefore be the case on his own sentence, on the logic of his own argument, that he himself feels the conviction of absolute responsibility given the experience of choice by his own philosophical argument.
Yeah.
Besides proposing, suggesting or positing the possibility that my man's schizophrenic. Besides that, it stinks to me of the worst, laziest kind of philosophical thought. And it's what's behind the poll question this week, because at no stage does he then try to investigate what that experience means. So then why do you feel like you have an absolute conviction about responsibility? What makes you so sure that you are responsible for the change in your life? Because you seem absolutely sure, even though as a philosopher yourself, you're telling yourself you're not sure.
Yeah.
But yourself feels sure when it happens to you. So what is that? And everybody in this poll feels the same way.
Yeah.
Because everybody read that question the same way. When everybody saw that question, everybody felt the same thing. Am I responsible for the change in my life? Of course I am. Because who else is going to be responsible for the change in my life? And by extension, therefore, the change in our life. And I feel like that's true. In a really, 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 really straightforward fashion, that's true. I feel like the risk is, it's not as true as people think it is. That is to say, you're nowhere near as responsible for your life as you think you are.
Right.
First and foremost, I don't know that you're absolutely clear where your life ends and other lives begin. I don't know that you're 1,000% sure of that.
Sure, I understand.
There are lives that, although they seem absolutely physically and empirically separate to yours, whatever happens in their lives would have an enormous impact on yours. If somebody were, God forbid, we're talking about coronavirus, but God forbid, if somebody has lost a loved one, they know exactly what I'm talking about. If somebody has lost a loved one in recent times, no matter how much you tell yourself that's a separate life, that's not a separate life.
Mm.
My life is lived in accordance with the passing of that life now. What do you want me to not mourn?
Yeah.
Because I live an independent life? What do you mean an independent life? Where's the independence?
Sure, okay.
If you have a child, if you're a parent and have a child, where does your life end and that child's begin? Everybody knows that blur. Everybody knows that blur. So for one, when everybody says that they're responsible for their own lives, I'm not 100% sure that they know what their lives are. Like, what's the...
Sure.
Because the country that you live in large part, will determine the quality of your life. And in large part, will determine the choices that are available to you in the course of that life, by virtue of the politics of that particular country or the sociological conditions of that country. So, to what extent do you have to care about the lives of others in order to care about yours? It's not that straightforward. Do you see my point? It's not as simple as I'm responsible for my own life.
Sure, I think take it to the flip side. There's an element where perhaps we fear, everybody thinks, fate, or do we determine our lives, or is it fate? That's a nonsense question, but it's also part of that. If we don't, there's a fear that if we're not at least perceived to ourselves to be driving our life, then what is? That you feel out of control and lost, no? So even if it's true, there's this. I can understand how everybody feels like it's the case.
But let me ask you a question. What was there before you?
Everything.
There was a there before you?
Yeah, absolutely. Life existed before I came along, and it will continue to do so after.
So to what extent is the responsibility of your life attributable to that? Because you kind of needed that for you to exist.
That's true.
It's kind of directly responsible. I mean, if we're talking about cause and effect, you're the effect of a bunch of causes that
That's true.
really just the effect of.
But like, surely in how I then, okay, fine, I came about, I'm the effector of a bunch of causes, but once I'm cogent and conscious and able to think and drive my life, am I not enacting change?
Well, this is what I'm saying. So, this is what I'm so interested in. And this is what I think is dangerous. Like, I agree in principle, because like I'm with everybody else. I mean, if anybody hasn't read my book, y'all can see the link to my book in a second. We're gonna put it up. But if anybody hasn't read my book, go check my book. I vehemently defend the argument in favor of freedom. I don't think anybody's like determined or what have you. That's not what I'm saying. So I don't want anyone to get mistaken and think that what I'm suggesting, by in any way, shape, or form, our lives are somehow deterministically constructed or fated. That's not in the slightest what I'm saying. I absolutely think that everybody has an ethical responsibility to pay attention to their life, but not for the reasons that they think they do. And I think that distinction that we're going to lay out here is important. That's to say, the way that you are responsible for your life will dictate the way you respond to your life.
Okay.
And it makes sense for us to pay attention to the way we're responsible for our lives. So, on that note, see the movement. On that note, what I want to observe first is the kind of change that we're talking about, right? So, in fact, skip all that. What I want to observe first is the idea that, or if we think of, change as our responsibility, forgive me, as our responsibility, presumably we think of change, the origin of change, as being somehow in us. Like, we have the capacity to, make it somehow has to originate in a decision made by my. This is not unfamiliar. This is a really, really old-fashioned conception of humankind, or old-fashioned conception of human action, I should say, to be really, really philosophically specific. So Aristotle, in his physics, watch me get philosophical and lecturing now. Look at that. Aristotle, it's like I actually read stuff, you know what I mean? But Aristotle, in physics, Aristotle says a staff moves a stone, a hand moves the staff, but a man moves the hand. Of course, Aristotle, the idea is that for him, the chain of causality originates in a human being.
Yeah.
They originate in your decision-making capacity. Somehow, somewhere in your head, you have this capacity to be able to originate things. Yeah. Right?
I buy that.
This is what I'm saying. This is the popular conception. This is what I think everybody assumes when they answer the question in the positive. Yeah, 100%. I'm responsible for change because I'm the authority over my thoughts. So, presumably what we're saying is that you can cause it. You can cause things to happen in and of yourself. So what I got interested in is whether or not we know what that means. That's to say, whether or not we know what is something. So, in typical definition time. So, standard definition, and this is what I find so interesting, because there's a large area of ambiguity. What I want to point out is the area of ambiguity that we're ignoring in order to assert responsibility. Like, it's actually a compassionate thing people are doing, that we're so overeager to assert responsibility over our lives that we're ignoring a whole bunch of things in order to do that. Because like, I so want to be responsible for myself, I'm so afraid of the threat of not being responsible, the accusation of being irresponsible, that I'm ignoring how I arrive at my responsibility altogether. Like, I don't necessarily know what I'm talking about responsible. Cool.
Kudos for humanity, I have to say, it's nice.
Oh, I'm down. I like humanity. We're cool. Technically speaking, we cool. But it's a cause. Here's the ambiguity. If you look up the standard definition of cause, Cambridge University definition, the reason why something, particularly something bad, happens. Now, it's funny that they insist on it being particularly something bad. I find that interesting in and of itself, but that's something else, right? We could have a whole lecture on just that.
Okay, yeah.
I looked this up the other day and I was like, wait a minute. And I immediately, like, a whole seminar spawned off that one sentence, and I was like, listen, we need to deal with this. But it's not that important, and nobody cares what the Cambridge Oxford dictionary says about the word cause. But in any case.
Okay.
What I'm actually interested in is the second word. The reason why something happens. So a cause is a reason. In short, a cause is a reason. The reason why something happens. right? Particularly something bad, but nevertheless the reason wasn't. So a cause, as far as the Oxford Dictionary is concerned, the Cambridge Dictionary is concerned, is a reason. Okay, fine.
Right.
Etymologically, though, let's say we go back to the root origin of the word. We don't have to go back very far because cause is a Latin term, so it's not that long ago. Cause in Latin is causa, it's fine. And that translates to the cause of an effect, the source or the origin. Now, let's say that all of these are valid, because I don't think any of them strike us as being particularly invalid. But that's my problem. Why are all of these valid? That is to say, cause is therefore both your reason and the cause of an effect in that kind of like causation, in the respect of causation, but also the source and the origin.
Yeah, which doesn't suggest an active thing happening, just the beginning.
Yeah, but we don't really know what that means. So when you say that you are the cause of the change, or you're responsible for the change in your life, are you saying that you're the reason for it? Are you saying that you're the cause, as in the causal? You're just
Yeah.
Or are you the source of that, or are you the origin of it?
Interesting.
Because it's not clear which one we mean here, and very, 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 very different things, right? So, for example, I happen to, like, might have written 1-2 things, occasionally here, and in writing 1 or 2 things here or there in a book that might be available, there might be a link that you might see in a particular book that I happen to write. I don't know what to tell you. It might have a really, really long, complicated title, because I kind of want to make clear to everybody how hard it was for me to write this long, complicated book. So, there's a barrier to entry here. The title.
Yeah, it's like if people can get over the title, then the rest is
easier.
No, it's not.
Nah, for real. If you can get past the title, I'm like, all right, cool. You can read the next page. But you can read the next page.
And it is. It's trial by fire every page.
Every page. And if you can't read the, it's Kafka. You even read like Before the Law. You know what you are? Before every time I write that book, I felt like I was like some Kafka-esque like trial myself. Before the Law is before my book. And I'm sitting here, sat before my book on every single page. So now I'm putting you through it. God damn it. So I have to write a book. The point is, in the course of writing that book, a large section of a chapter was dedicated to the question of what it means for a thing to be a cause. And primarily because Jean-Paul Sartre himself, shout out Jean-Paul Sartre, French philosopher, famous French philosopher, world-renowned French existential philosopher, Jean-Paul Sartre felt as though there were 2 versions of a cause, at least. He could identify at least 2. There was a third, but he said the third wasn't worth discussing. The third being causation, like standard empirical causation. But his concern is human action. So insofar as his concern is human action, the 2 versions of cause that he's interested in are what he called motif and mobile. Motif and mobile meaning reason and motive. They're different. But they're different. Like your reason for doing a thing is not the same as your motive for doing that thing. It's not the same.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like you could be motivated to do a thing that completely contradicts the reasons.
Yeah.
The other way around.
Yeah.
My reasons for doing a thing might be contrary to my motivation.
Yeah.
It's not absolutely clear that they're the same thing. They can run in opposite directions. So for him, when you say that you are the cause of your own changes and in your own life, is like, well, which one? But nevertheless, the point is that throughout the course of history, as I said beforehand with that Aristotle reference, it's been a common thought to conceive of the human as being either the source or the cause of a chain of effects, because experience would suggest as much. Like, it's very, very hard to break from that, because experience would, let's say, the absolute conviction of experience, right?
Yeah.
Every single time I seem to start a line of thinking. And then the consequence of that line of thinking sometimes is actions.
Yeah.
That I'm only responsible for. Like, they really wouldn't have happened had I not done this. Like, breakfast only happens because I make it. Like, really. I swear, it doesn't make it. I've stared at the cereal for hours sometimes, just waiting for it to pour itself, and it won't do it.
No kid likes being yelled at, but it was precisely Harry's ranting and raving that gave Matilda the key to her power, To unlock that power, all she had to do was practice.
Shout out Matilda, goddammit. Shout out Matilda. If you didn't read that book as a little kid, I don't know what your life is about. Shout out Matilda. But the point is, no, so the idea is there's experience would seem to suggest that there is a direct relationship between the origination of thought, as it were, and then a chain of causes and effects. So of course I'm going to think of myself as responsible for change. But it wasn't always clear throughout the course of human history what that origin meant. For example, Descartes says it's somehow relatively related to God, right? So we get our judgment is somehow inferred from God, so it has a relationship to that. Blaise Pascal argues that we have a soul, and that soul is derived directly from God, and that's what makes us do all of these things. St. Augustine said exactly the same stuff, that we have a soul that's derived directly from, it's like a piece of God in your moving body that allows you to originate cause and effect. Roderick Chisholm quotes Aristotle. When Aristotle was saying it, Aristotle was talking about, he called imminent causation versus transient causation. He distinguishes them, where transient causation is the causation of things and imminent causation is what I do to the world, because he says that you have this imminent power, you have this access to this power that allows you to change things. You have this something in you that allows you to affect reality.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, in each and every single one of these cases, with the exception from the first two or three, the way that functions is different, right? So what the source of that origination, the source of your powers or what have you, it's different. So how it works and what it means has been different throughout the course of human history. For some it's directly related to God, for some it's about you personally, for some, who knows? So when we say that we have a conception of ourselves as being authorities over our own lives, that we're responsible for change, it's not a new thought. It's not a novel thought, but it has changed over the course of time.
Okay. It's meaning.
It's politicized itself.
Interesting.
Adopted a socio-political nuance.
Interesting.
That was not the case in ancient Greece, for example. Ancient Greece, when Aristotle was talking about imminent causation and the source of causation, he was referring to the constant presence of consciousness, as it were. He didn't use the term consciousness, he used your being. So that's what he was referring to. The idea that you have this constant present capacity, and that reaches beyond yourself to give you access to the universe, right? That's the conception of the universe. Right? It's something else entirely. I've lost my track, but
so it's become a socio-political thing. That's how it's changed through time.
It's become a socio-political. It's taken on a socio-political nuance because, in part, or at least it's my assertion. Whether or not anybody agrees or anyone believes, that's the point of an open seminar. Y'all are welcome to have a conversation. That's why we're doing this on IGTV Live. Y'all are welcome. You can tell me I'm a dickhead later. Thank you very much. But the point is, it's adopted a socio-political nuance, but because of the absence of a conception of constant presence or being in its totality, or a spiritual basis for reality. That is to say, to put it in other terms, that there is almost a vacuum. That these crises, for example, this Brexit, Trump, coronavirus, what have you, these crises have revealed a vacuum of meaning in society or in our ideological kind of like functions. A total vacuum of meaning that's being or attempting to be filled by the corporate vision of the state. You have a corporate vision of what the state ought to be, and so Facebook is trying to fill that vacuum of meaning for you. It's trying to provide you with your sense of meaning. So your sense of self, your sense of identity, your sense of being, your sense of who you are, your sense of your society, your sense of right and wrong, your sense of morals, you're all in large part, if we're being honest, if we're keeping it 100, in large part are being dictated by memes.
Yep.
Going on memes, Blad. If we're being honest, you're going on your Facebook groups, you're going on your Instagram following, you're going on what people like and don't like, you're going on the shade room, you're going on where people get dissed and don't get dissed. You're not going on a moral reflection. If you're being straight with yourself, you're not. You've subcontracted your ethics, your identity, and your being to Facebook and Instagram.
There's an argument that because all these mediums just require fast interaction or fast engagement, that really, of course, we're no longer engaging or thinking about something before we react to it. It's like a, you know, like hate, like.
You're not supposed to, but the scam on their part was that they could subcontract television out to the population.
Yeah.
That was the scam on their part. We're going off. The scam on their part was the idea that, well, I don't actually need to build a whole studio and build a whole what have you and hire a whole bunch of experts in filming and camera work and what have you. People will watch themselves. You could just subcontract this whole thing out so long as I still control the television and they have to rent it from me. Thank you, Instagram. So long as they have to rent it from me, they can go and stream themselves and they'll watch each other.
Yeah.
But box is a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, cool. But so what happened is that you ended up they subcontract television out to you. So you ended up subcontracting your life out to them. So your whole sense of being now is dictated in so much part by what people do and don't say on Instagram, what people do and don't do on Facebook. Nah, this is an off hat time. I'm serious. We spitting bars.
It's getting serious.
It's getting heated out here. You know what I'm saying, man? It's a mad thing. Yo, shout out J Unit. It's a mad thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what to tell you. Man's feeling it. So listen, the point is, these conceptions of your ability to change or your responsibility for change can get muddied. And let's have a quick look at one particular area where we can get muddied, which is to say that we have arrived at a conception of ourselves. This is what I really want to get at. We've arrived at a conception of ourselves as having this like total authority over our life. Total. Because we've subcontracted out ourselves, we've subcontracted out our identities, we've subcontracted out our thoughts, we've subcontracted out. What remains is that my life, myself, my identity, my being ought to respond to me the same way my Facebook feed and my Instagram feed does. Like I ought to change myself as willingly and as volitionally as I can change my identity and my avi on Instagram or what have you.
Yeah.
So people think of themselves as being able to kind of like shift their moralities as and when they like. They can shift their principles as and when they like. They can shift their ideals and their thoughts as and when they like, without ever giving any serious thought to anything that either you were or you will be. But I can adopt, move from one place to the other at whim because I control myself. I don't know that it's that easy. That's all I'm saying is I don't know that it's even a good idea to think of it as being that easy.
Right.
I feel like people might be doing a disservice to themselves. I feel like you might be selling yourself a little short. I think what you are is a little more complicated than a weird head on a stick that occasionally decides that the stick should look different and then it does something else. It might be a little deeper than that. It might be a little bit more than a hard... This isn't Futurama, you know what I mean? You're not just like a head in a jar.
Are there any left?
There may be one. Okay, it's $500. You have no choice of carrier. The battery can't hold a charge, and the reception isn't very...
Shut up and take my money.
I know it was a popular show. I get it. It's funny. I found it funny too. I laughed too. No, it's hilarious. I'm with you. But like, fam, it wasn't like an ideal for society. I didn't watch it and go, hey, I did. No, it was... You know?
Yeah.
So, let me show you the concept. It's not even clear. It's not even clear. Shout out David Hume. We'll do this really quickly, but it's not even clear that a cause is what we think it is. That is to say, the cause for a thing really is what we think it is. I'll give you a quote. Let's just do it. Quote. When we look around us at external objects and think about the operation of causes, we're never able to discover any power or necessary connection, any quality that ties the effects to the cause and makes it an infallible consequence of it. All we find is that the one event does in fact follow the other. In no single particular instance of cause and effect is there anything that can suggest the idea of power or necessary connection. The question, to end the quote, that's David Hume from an inquiry concerning human understanding. The question he's getting at, though, in short, the idea he's trying to get at, to sum it up, is what power is contained within the cause that it should result in the effect while it remains unaltered.
Yeah.
And then apply that to yourself. What power is it that you have in yourself that it should result in effect, that's to say, it should result in a change in yourself without altering that thing which does the changing. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're not altering the thing that's doing the changing when you're changing yourself, what's the difference between what you're changing and changing your Abby on Facebook?
Yeah.
Have you really, is that changing?
Yeah. No, well, obviously not.
Is that even responsibility? You see what I'm saying? Like, I appreciate everybody feels like they're responsible for changing their life, but I don't know that we know what that means.
Yeah, fair.
A funny way. I'll give you a better example. Hold up, I got fire here all day long. I came here to seminar. Like a mother. Like a mother, shut your mouth.
Let's do this.
I'll give you one more example. This is much more fun. You can look this up. There's a famous ancient Greek example. People have been knowing this since ancient Greece, right? This is how embarrassing this is. There's a famous ancient Greek example. It's called Zeno's arrow paradox. It's a paradox. It's designed to mess with the head from a guy called Zeno. Zeno's arrow paradox. What do you think about this? The idea is this. What he did. I'm going to try and draw this out with our minds here, but the thought experiment goes as follows. He says, imagine you fire an arrow from point A towards destination B, right? Point A towards destination B. And then the idea is that the arrow runs along a particular trajectory, a very particular trajectory, in order for it to arrive at destination B. Now, the question then becomes, where is the arrow between the two spaces? We know where it is at departure, and we know where it is at arrival. Anybody who's ever been on a train knows this problem. You know, when you're on the train, you're trying to tell people where you are, and you're like, well, I'm kind of...
I left, I'm about to arrive, I'm
not at Battle, but like I'm not quite... Well, okay, you know, between Battle and Hastings, well, okay, by the time I hang up the phone, because I'm still moving, so by the time you get out of the house, I'm not going to be where I said I was. All right, let me project forward where I think I'll be by the time you leave. Different. So the question comes, if we know where the arrow is at departure, we know the arrow is at arrival, where is the arrow in between? And the issue is this. If, I'm quoting, if everything, when it occupies an equal space, is at rest at that instant of time, and if that which is in locomotion is always occupying such a space at any moment, the flying arrow is therefore motionless at that instant of time and at the next instant of time. To put this in everyday language, yeah, see what just happened? To put this in everyday language, if I asked you where is the arrow, to identify a point at which the arrow is, where the arrow stands between departure and arrival, you cannot, how could you account, if it's standing at that point in time, how do you then account for its arrival at the next point? But
you could.
You just said it's standing. Okay, but then it's not standing at any one point. Okay, but then if it's not standing at any one point, where is it? It doesn't disappear.
It's like it's there.
Because every time it's there, it's where it was.
It's true, yeah.
This is a very simple concept, but you're aging, for example. I'm not dissing us, we're both aging, but like, you know, we're aging, for example, right? And every single time somebody says, how old are you? There's a funny joke you can make out.
Oh, yeah, that old.
How old am I? Yeah, but you can, that's the joke, it's an old-fashioned joke. Nevertheless, contained within that joke is a basic philosophical truth. That motion, when things are in motion, it's very, very hard to identify what they are or where they are because they're in motion.
Yeah, that's true.
In any one particular place is moving. That's to say, qualitative difference. Things are in places. We move. See, it's a qualitative difference. Consciousness moves.
Yeah.
Things. So, you see how? You see what I'm doing out here? What I'm trying to explain. What I'm trying to explain here is that for Hume in the previous example, he says the same thing with respect to billiard balls, snooker balls, pool balls, right? We know the general example. You strike a pool ball, the pool ball rolls forward, and it strikes another pool ball, and the other pool ball rolls ahead, right? And I get it. Like, I get the logic of what you're telling me is that there's like, this thing has a certain mass and a certain density, and so does that thing. But what is it that's giving this the power to make that thing move? Like, I get what you're saying, but what is it that has, where's the power in this? Because I struck it with a cue, that I imparted some power onto the ball in order for it to then impart that power onto... What is the power of motion? What are you talking about? Like,
yeah.
How is this happening? And again, I understand we can talk all day long about velocity and mass and density and what have you. It's a much, much more delicate philosophical concept that we're trying to address. And it's the one that I quoted earlier on from Hume. So, what I'm getting at is that it's not quite clear that we're directly in control or that we directly cause or have a cause and effect relationship with ourselves. It's not quite clear that we have a direct cause and effect relationship with things in the world. And it's not quite clear that things in the world have a cause and relationship effect with each other. That is to say, I'm not quite clear what the causal power is that exists between things. Hume ends up calling it a necessary connection because he says that ultimately, he says, you will find if you investigate this long enough, there is no such power. That is to say, he argues that all causality is a myth of the mind. You just think it's there.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, we're not getting haywire here. I'm not about to tell you the Earth is flat. It's really not flat. But the funny thing is that modern science will tell you a similar thing. Quantum physics, for example, has come to very, very, very similar conclusions. That is to say, it's not very clear that things seem to react in the way that we think they do on the atomic level, where there seems to be a relationship between objects. At the quantum level, they all seem to react to each other in a very, very different. Particles react in a different way. They all seem to be conjoined in some funny fashion, and it's not quite clear how any of this is happening. So, although Hume seemed wild when he was saying it, that is to say, that there is no clear causal power connecting cause and effect. Modern science would tend to agree. I'm not quite sure what that is. More to the point, it's not quite clear on ourselves when we say we're the origin, we're the source, and what have you, particularly take into consideration that there was an origin of you. So what do you mean? And if you think of yourself like Zeno's arrow, when you changed yourself, where were you before and where are you now? You changed yourself from what to what? When?
Yeah.
But it's changing. You're aging. You know you're aging, right? So it's changing. I changed.
Yeah.
Changed. Who's the eye that did the changing? I'm not even clear what the eye is. Like, do you see what I'm saying? None of this is as clear as we think it is. Now, the reason for this is this, and it's related to what I was saying beforehand, because it's like I've rehearsed this.
I've been keeping track of you, and oh my God, you're like, every time I think you've lost it, you round it up. Like at the beginning when you were talking about charlatans, and then you swing in Instagram and Facebook. I see what you're doing.
I'm segueing like a master out here. Check me out. So
it's a masterclass today.
It's one of those for real. That's a real thing. But in any case, what I'm saying is this: the reason for this, that is to say, we conceive of our relationship to ourselves with respect to direct authorship of causation. Let me repeat that. Bars, fam. Let me repeat that. Those are philosophical bars. That's what we do here, by the way. You know that. That's
philosophical bars.
Nah, we do books building on bars, but I'll explain all that later. But you know, I'm just saying. The point is the consequence of this, right? The reason for this, that our conception of ourselves or our conception of our responsibilities over ourselves is such that we have direct authorship, direct authorial control over ourselves and constitute like a characterized by causation. So it's almost a kind of relationship, like cause and effect, like switching the light bulb off. I can just make myself. The reason we have that conception of ourselves is because we've been sold a cheap conception of ourselves. And we've been sold a cheap conception of ourselves in part because of the capitalist or corporate view of the state, in part because of the collapse of the state and the collapse of the state ideology that had previously been selling you an identity as a citizen, a consumerist citizen, and what have you. In part because of that collapse.
Yeah.
But in part, philosophically, we predicted this a long time. Heidegger saw this coming a long time ago. In part, Nietzsche saw this a long time ago. In part, philosophically, because we abandoned any broad conception of being in our conception of self. We detached ourselves from a broad conception of being to such an extent that we allow ourselves that power of authorship. I can only total authority over myself on condition that I completely ignore that there was something before me that brought me here in the first place. It's as if there were no conditions or causations that preceded me, but I and I alone create all things. It's a very Roman way of looking at yourself.
Yeah.
Latin way of looking at yourself. We had this before. That I and I alone have this power of authorship over myself and what have you, right? That conception of yourself, or that conception of your responsibility of yourself, is born because of the fact that we have abstracted ourselves wholeheartedly from the environment, the contextualizing matrix which precedes us. On that note, hold on. Apologies. Give me a second. Quote. Thus, freedom understood. Look at you. As soon as I said thus, look. Thus, freedom understood in relation to truth includes the directive that one grasp or understand. That one grasp themselves from the particular thrownness, that is, the hermeneutic faculty of their experience. That's a quote. Some random. What's his name?
It's you!
Oh, it's Dr. E. Yo, you're
I knew it! It's from your book! I was like...
That'd be me. That's just me out here. That's just me talking. That's me doing what I do. No.
I knew it.
Truth includes the directive that one grasp or understand themselves from the particular thrownness, that is, the hermeneutic facticity of their experience. Right? Explain further.
Hermeneutic facticity. Explain.
Out of random philosophical gibberish. What we're talking about is what I've referred to up to this point as the contextualizing matrix of your life. Those facts and those features of your life, those phenomenal features of your life, I say the features of your experience that directly inform your understanding of reality. So it's more than just, we're talking about more than just, where you live or what you wear or who your friends are or what you watch or what music you listen to. We're talking about the basic fundamental structures of your sense of reality. And usually these things are concepts, ideas of love, ideas of death, ideas of mortality, ideas of age, ideas of identity, ideas of self, ideas of freedom, ideas of responsibility, ideas of change. You know what I'm saying? The idea is then, you confront your thrownness. Your thrownness is the fact of your condition, which is to say that there was a universe that preceded you and threw you here.
Okay.
You are part and parcel of a larger picture that just dumped you on here. You see what I'm saying?
I'm a thrownness. Okay.
You have been thrown into this universe. We all know that experience. Everybody wakes up one day and realizes it's just most people get a little bit insane and just decide to cut off everything that preceded that and pretend like it never happened. So here, I'm quoting again, here he connects it to a confrontation with the thrown nature of existence, which we'll argue in reference to what we'll call submission, which is central to Heidegger's account of freedom. The quote, conscience, not consciousness, don't get that mistaken, I hate that. Conscience is the call of care, and we are fundamentally caring beings. It forces us to confront the thrown, abandoned nature of our existence, which all of us recognize but few of us reflect on for extended periods, preferring instead to flee to the anesthetized existence of the they. Now, I can't take full credit for all of that. That's in part a guy called Mahon O'Brien. Mahon O'Brien was he's a philosopher. He's a very good philosopher. Shout out Mahon O'Brien. He's really, really cool. He's a cool dude. I like it. But the point is what we're talking about here is the idea that we tend to prefer to avoid the submission necessary. The submission necessary for reflection on our fundamental condition, our thrownness, the fact that I woke up one day and I found myself here. And in order for me to orientate myself, that's to say, in order for me to have a genuine sense of my surroundings, it's fundamentally important that I grasp the roots of my being as having preceded myself, that's to say, as having their basis in something grander than my vision of my identity or my current state or what I like or what I wouldn't like or what have you. Your fundamental capacity for understanding preceded your sense of yourself. It's on condition that there is a capacity for understanding that you can conceive of yourself as changing or responsible over yourself. It is on condition of this. Therefore, if it's necessary for there to be a preceding open space of interpretation to allow you to understand yourself as having the capacity to change yourself, you are indebted to a space, to a thing that preceded you. See what I'm saying? And in order for you
submission.
You are to submit to that. And in order for you to behave correctly, that's to say, in order for you to change yourself in the form or fashion in which you'd like to, let's say, for one to genuinely be responsible for themselves, it's necessary to grasp yourself as an expression of something that preceded you. Failing to acknowledge that necessity, that's to say, failing to acknowledge, frankly speaking, my parents, their background, my origins, culture, language, what have really superficial. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the nature of being, my understanding of reality, my fears about mortality, my sense of what life means as such. The failure to engage in what we generally think of as a philosophical conversation, or what we have now come to think of as a philosophical conversation, tends to exacerbate this prevailing condition, this sense of a gaping chasm in the meaning of society, in society and meaning, right? In our ideological framework. And invites more and more of that corporate vision of the state. Before you know it, Facebook and Instagram is going to have us telling us what being is. We could all upload our memories and our thoughts and our feelings somewhere else. Hey, you're not stressed about that stuff. Why would you keep your memories? Hey, download your memories. Go live you. Go live your best life.
Sorry, you joked about Futurama. We're not that far off.
The only one who's changed is me. I've become bitter, and let's face it, crazy over the years. And once I'm swept into office, I'll sell our children's organs to zoos for meat, and I'll go into people's houses at night and wreck up the place.
But it's the thing. So, is it so clear that we're responsible over ourselves? I don't know.
No.
But
I caveat, I want to remove my answer.
But nevertheless, we're blessed with the capacity for the kind of reflection necessary for responsible and ethical change. That was there before you had to worry about it. It's deeper than your sense of self, deeper than your sense of authority. It's deeper than who you think you are. It's deeper than, I need to be someone better than I was yesterday, or I need to change the world, or listen, if we don't recycle, what's going to happen to that? Fam, I'm going to tell you a story in part 2. If we don't recycle, everything's going to be terrible. No, I'm going to have to kind of like intercede into Missy's movies because like, crazy. But in any case, listen. We're going to sum this up, wrap it all up. Part 2, we've got Missy's movies coming. Part 2. I might have a little story for you on part 2. But thank you everybody for coming along. I'm going to see you all then in part 2. I'll give you a shout out and what have you then. Everybody come back. We've got to check all of this out. Like I said, Missy's movie is not a thing to be missed. Because Missy feels
And it's a good one.
There's a lot of Mrs. in there, but like, listen, don't do that. And you're gonna get the summaries and the solutions and what have you. Plus, we've got a couple jokes. 1, 2. I'm gonna see you on part 2, homie. I'm gonna see you there, right? 1.
See you there.
What up? What up, homie? What up? What up, people? What up?
Back.
Yo. I just gotta say, quick TBT creator shout out, Beauty by Willis. Y'all go. Anybody needs a pedicure, manicure, what have you? Go check out Beauty by Willis on Instagram. Beauty by Willis. Don't waste no time. Don't play around.
I mean, I feel like I do.
Yo, hit her up. Yo, my girl hook you up. My girl hook you up for real. Now she good. She know what she doing. My girl hook you up. I've been seeing all her like pictures and things. I have no idea what any of it means. I don't know how any of it works. I don't know.
But it looks great.
But it looks incredible. So I'm not getting involved. I'm just gonna take it as it is and then after that. But yeah, it's just everybody go hit up you. But shout out, my girl. She knows what she's doing, man. So I don't know. You want to jump straight into your movie, or you want to hear a little quick story?
No, I want you to sum it up. Or the story. Like we got into a vibe, and I want you to.
Oh, you want the story?
Like I'm on the tippy edge, you thought, so you know.
All right, let me leave this story. All right, so look, no names.
Let's do this.
Now let's not get messy. No names, so we ain't gonna get kind of like funny with it. But all right, so look, here's the story. Here's what happened. So a little while ago, I don't remember how long ago, but a little while ago, I'm out in New York, right? Cool. I'm seeing some people. Hey, listen, I'm everywhere, blood. But I'm seeing some people. I'm seeing some friends. I'm doing my thing. In any case, I'm over at somebody's apartment. I'm chilling out. While I'm chilling out, at some stage, I remember what I had in my hand. Like I had like a bottle or something. A thing. Like some recyclable thing. Yo, homie, don't ever thank. Do the thing. Yo, what's up? But the point is, so I don't know what it was in my hand, but whatever it was a recyclable good.
Right.
I don't know what it was, but it was something you could recycle. So I'm telling you, I don't know. But the point is, I didn't recycle it, right? Like I just threw it in the regular bin. Like I didn't know that there was. For one, I didn't know it was a separate bin because like, I've never been in your apartment before, homie. I'm not gonna go sniffing around your kitchen looking for the second.
Yeah.
Presuming your recycling inclinations. You know what I'm saying? Like I just threw it in the bin. But they felt away.
I mean, there's no need to. Just go, there's a recycling bin.
No, but can't. Listen, but that's not my thing. My thing was like, I got stressed because the response to that was not, listen, here's the recycling bin, or I can't, look, why didn't you recycle, or whatever else, or engaging in the discussion. None of that. The response was, wow, I thought I knew you. You don't recycle? I was like, I thought I knew you.
What's that got to do with anything?
First of all, why did you think you know me? We just met. Second of all, I don't know that I want to know you that deep for you to get to know my feelings on recycling. My closest friends don't know my feelings on recycling.
Mate, I don't know your feelings on recycling.
I tell you, we don't have that conversation.
Now I'm beginning to think, I don't know you at all.
Maybe you don't know me, homie. Like, do you feel like maybe we don't know each other? If I don't know how you feel about recycling, we don't really know each other. That's how I can tell you. But this is my point. I got stressed, so we got into it because I'm an idiot. What can I tell you? I'm an idiot. So we got into it. Cool. So we get into the whole debate about this whole thing, and her whole thing was, it's a question of personal responsibility. And if we're not all personally responsible, if we don't engage, if we don't all get into the fight, we ain't gonna say, like, fam.
Sure, I see that argument.
Listen, there's two problems. There's really two problems. I'll break it down for you real simple, pragmatic and philosophical. So I'm gonna get deep on you like in the second issue. But pragmatically, how many of you do you think there are? Let me rephrase that for you. No. Let me do you a favor and rephrase that for you. If you took the entire planet's consumer population, the entire planet, the whole planet of people who are consuming goods, and made sure that every single one of them recycle, how much of a dent do you think that puts into the Coke factory and the McDonald's factories and the Ford factories and NASA and the productions for your Apple iPhone and the productions for car tires and the oil drilling? And fam, are you being serious right now?
We've been sold a lie.
You thought the problem was because I didn't throw this in the right bin.
Yeah.
That was the issue. We were all fighting out here because we wanted to make sure this went in the green bin. Never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind that, and we ain't getting too deep into this, but never mind that every single time you do recycle and you put your stuff in the recycling bin, you have any idea where that ish goes? You know half of that does not end up being recycled? You know how much of that ends up in East Asia, just dumped in people's countries? Yo, y'all need to go and check out what's happening in East Asia.
So true.
Dumping our trash, just on them.
That's so true.
Out of sight, out of
That's so true.
out of sight, out of mind. And the idea is that the populations have been sold a pup. All we're trying to tell them is, listen, they didn't really want to. I just got to find a way for them to do the thing, engage in society. It's like, you know, Facebook. I just need your engagements. So I just need you to engage in society in some form or fashion. If you insist that engagement has to be on the basis of everything being green, fam, I could paint the bin. I'll paint the bin. Like shit. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
But this is what we were talking about last week. When people were here talking about Black Lives Matter, because it's a real thing, and we're arguing about statues. Like, we're arguing about... Bro, I gotta be honest with you. I understand the argument about removing the statues. I'm down 100% to remove the statues. I'm 100% down to remove them. I have no issue with the statues being up. What I'm saying is, that's the be-all and end-all of the issue.
Yeah.
My problem wasn't with the symbolic representation of racism.
Yeah.
That wasn't my problem. I didn't feel good.
It was racism.
I didn't feel good about the symbolic and institutional representations of racism in statues and buildings and what have you throughout the country and the land. I don't feel good about it. I would prefer that it wasn't the case, but I'm much more concerned with the policies that are killing people that like me and that look like me.
Too right.
Black and brown brothers and sisters out here like dying because of stupid ass policies, and we were talking about whether or not a statue is the right way up, or if it looked
Too right.
somewhere else, or maybe it should be this person. Fam, I don't care.
Too right.
Yeah, like I care. You know what I'm saying? Like I care, but relative
No, I get you.
concerns are like much more pragmatic to my mind than that. But this is what I'm talking about. That becomes a dominant form of thinking because you have an inflated sense of your capacity to change things.
Sure.
Of your capacity to change things. Because changing things in the respect that we're really talking about would involve a conversation, would involve a discussion, which half of y'all know the people who are either in power or related to power or in positions of authority who perpetuate these kinds of things. You know them. we're talking about that. We're talking about fundamentally, and this is what I'm really talking about. Talking about changing behavior, not individually, not personally, not if we all changed our behavior, like if we all recycled, maybe we could save the world. No. I'm talking about changing our behavior as a people.
Wow, yeah.
As a people, I'm saying that we're at a point now where we have to start confronting, not asking. We're past asking. Confront the question about what it means for you to coexist, because you can't keep pretending like it's not.
Yeah, that's oh man.
And I know you're all watching your own TVs, and I know you all got your own Instagram accounts, and everyone's got their own friendship circles. But fam, you call the fudge exists.
It's hard. Like,
Y'all better start living together. I'm past it now. But that's my point. We're at a point now where we've got to start asking ourselves, what does it mean to live together? Because I'm past the point where I'm okay seeing homeless people. I was never okay with it in the first place. But if we're really not okay with it, like we're really not good with that, there's things we can do about it, homie. I'm just saying, the government's there to respond to us, right? There's things we could do about it.
damn right. Yeah.
Don't sit here and tell me it's like we ain't got no choices, it is what it is. No, we out here protesting, tearing statues down. Yo, turn some of that energy though. I could think of 1, 2 other things you could tear down. Starts with a B, ends with a, like, you know what I'm saying? Boris, friggin', I'm not saying none. I could think of 1, 2 things you could tear down.
Yeah.
Even when the Brixton riots, the London riots were going on, the last set of London riots, as a consequence of as a result of the Mali assassination, whatever you want to call it. But as a result of that, all of the energy and what have you, and I was in support of it. That's great, man. All of that energy, go tear shit up, go whatever, burn it. I'm down, man. I'm super down. But I could think of 1, 2 other targets.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I could think of a conversation we could have with our neighborhoods afterwards. That's the important part. Because I can think of a conversation I can have with the local doctor, with the local butcher, with the local farmer, with the local teacher, with the local lawyer. I know those people. I know them. I can have conversations with them and be like, yo, homie, listen, I know we all have to play this game, like we all charge each other for this ish, because we have to play this game. Can we not play this game? I'm just saying. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm just saying. How about don't? But I do you want? How about we just don't? And we don't even have to do it all the time. We just don't for like 3 months. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. But that's what I'm putting.
Oh my God.
Decisions. Those. I'm not going to go into this, but those decisions, those ethical actions, those comportments aren't conceivable. They are not open to discussion. They're not open to conception. So long as the parameters for your ethical decisions are set, such as they are. That's to say, set by the dominant ideological framework. That's to say, subcontracted out to private industry and corporations. You're not really in charge of your own changes. If you're being honest with yourself, you let Facebook and Instagram do that for you. If we're being honest with it, and because that conviction that you're responsible is not for nothing, because it comes from something. We can ignore what my man said at the top of this, where he just, you humans with your weird conviction. Now, I feel like there's a good reason.
Yeah.
You know something, though, but you know something. But what you know, you have to investigate and sit with for 5 minutes. You can't just know something, go, but never mind that. Here's what I want now. All right, fam.
Yeah, I get you.
Hey, and in order for us to get closer to what it is that we know, y'all know what we need? Philosophical introspection. Y'all know who does that? Right here, Dr. E. Hey, y'all know what we're watching right now? Dr. E's OS seminar series. Yo, welcome to it, by the way, just in case y'all didn't know. We in part 2.
Mind blown this week. I was so looking forward to this chat.
Light work, lad. Light work.
Standard.
Yo,
Standard.
hit me up. Mrs. Movies. I want to know. What's up?
Listen, I've got a really special one for you. You know, identity, cause and effect.
Tell me, what's the week? Tell me, I want to know.
Honestly, I've been banging on at you to watch this movie. It's called I Heart Huckabees.
I've seen it.
A little old, but you know, it's worthwhile watching, right? Movies can't seem to do philosophy. It's really frigging hard to get a philosophical perspective in a movie.
Sure.
Hardly exists. I counted. I think there's like 8 movies that are philosophically based. I Heart Huckabees is one of them. And the reason why I really mentioned this is I watched it again the other day, and the best scene, honestly, if you watch nothing else, watch this scene, and it's the blanket scene. I almost don't want to say any more than that, but there's a clue.
Okay.
So if anybody watches my soundtrack meditations that go out every weekend,
Plug-in. Yo, look at you plugging.
it's not a plug-in. No, that's efficiency. I think you'll find. I was like, hey, 2 stones in one or 2 birds in one.
All right. Good day.
I think you'll find that's operational efficiency. But anyway, no, the point is I love that scene so much. It's the blanket scene. It explains everything. In the event that you think that you are the be-all and the end-all of your life, watch the blanket scene. Dustin Hoffman explains it, how we're all really connected.
Okay, let's get started.
Is this part of my investigation?
Yes. Say this blanket represents all the matter and energy in the universe, okay? You, me, everything. Nothing has been left out, all right? All the particles, everything.
What's outside this blanket?
More blankets, that's the point.
Blanket's everything.
Exactly. This is everything, okay? Let's just say that this is me, right? And I'm, 60-odd years old, and I'm wearing a gray suit, blah, blah, blah. And let's say over here, this is you, and you're, I don't know, you're 21, you've got dark hair, etc. And over here, this is Vivian, my wife and colleague. And then over here, this is the Eiffel Tower, right? It's Paris. And this is a war, and this is a museum, and this is a disease, and this is an orgasm, and this is a hamburger.
Everything is the same, even if it's different.
Exactly. But our everyday mind forgets this. We think everything is separate, limited. I'm over here, you're over there, which is true, but it's not the whole truth, because we're all connected. Because we are connected.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, now, we need to learn how to see the blanket truth all the time, right in the everyday stuff. And that's what this is for.
Why?
Why what?
Why do I need to learn how to see the blanket thing all the time in the everyday stuff?
Well, you wouldn't want to miss out on the big picture, would you?
Uh-uh.
That's partly why you're here, right? And this is it. I'm talking about it right now. I mean, it'll take a while for you to get it, you know? But it'll help you.
How?
When you get the blanket thing, you can relax because everything you could ever want or be, you already have and are. That sound pretty good?
Sounds very good.
All right.
The blanket scene.
I don't remember the blanket.
The best scene.
I haven't really seen it. You know what I'm saying? So like, all right, I should probably watch it.
Blanket scene.
But okay, Mrs. Movies.
Oh, and for real, thank you, Corinne, for correcting my 2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah, I know. Without this, is, you know what I'm saying? But there's reasons we love Corinne. There's reasons.
I know. She keeps us straight. She keeps us on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, above and beyond correcting analogies and stuff. There's reasons we love Corinne. Corinne is amazing. Like, yo, shout out Corinne. In case you didn't do that, shout out Corinne. But in any case, I feel like we shouldn't be doing a name like that, though, to be fair. I feel like I'm doing one go like a disservice. It's like blaring and I mean, we ain't giving her whole gospel. But still.
No, we're not. She is the bestest since anything.
That's calm. That's just.
She's the cause of our affair.
All right, okay. Now we need to. That's where we wrap up when things start to get a little silly. So, Dr. E's Open Seminar Series, seminar number 17. Thank you all for coming along. I appreciate all your time. I appreciate everybody coming here. Everybody, listen, peace, health, and blessings to everybody, one and all. Everybody stay safe. Everybody stay sound. Everybody stay indoors insofar as you can. Mask up when you go outside. Please be considerate for the rest of human society. Please be a decent human being. And please start to conceive of yourself as something beyond your immediate identity and your immediate needs and desires. Your profundity extends beyond your sense of self, fam. There's more to you than just what you are. Something came before you, fam. You have ancestors. Think about Aish. There are people in you. Think about Aish. Anyway, so much love to everybody. Peace, health, and blessings to everybody. Open Seminar 17. Dr. E's Open Seminar, you know what it is. You know, we bring what we bring you, education for a new generation type ish. You know how we do. You know what I'm saying? Just that PhD level expertise, enlightened discussion, analysis, conversation, just without the traditional barriers of higher education.
And we are building together.
Hey, that's what we do. That's just what we do. We build on together just every week. That's just what we do. This is what this is. This is what you guys are doing with us. I appreciate you. One love to everybody who does decide to join this project. Y'all know what it is. The more we spread the word, the more we get involved, the more we get people having these kinds of conversations, the more we can help people out here. You know what I'm saying? There's a little bit of confusion out here. We could just clear up a little bit of mud. That's what I'm saying. So don't waste no time. Go tell your friends. Go tell people. Go share this out to the freaking world. Y'all know how it is. But peace, love, health, blessings, one to everybody. I'm gonna see y'all next week, same place, same time, 7 p.m. I ain't doing AM. 7 p.m. Sorry, 7 p.m. IG live. Y'all here, y'all know what it is. TDT. One love to everybody. Peace. Homie, take it easy, man.
Blackbird, said I'm one with the wind. Blackbird.